Chris Savino with American Outdoor News, and today I'm here with Robbie Kroger of Blood Origins. Robbie, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, Chris. I'm always humbled to talk to people who want to talk to me. So,
well, you always deliver a powerful message. And, Blood Origins, I mean, it's known for its powerful and compelling stories.
We challenge people's thought processes, right? We want people to think, and we want specifically the people in a non-hunting majority to really think or be posed with different thought processes, sort of logic structures that would bring hunting into a light, sort of in their vision, that's a little different than they're used to.
So you're a lifelong hunter. You grew up around it.
Oh, heck no.
Family? No?
No.
Wow.
My family were steeped hunters. I've got steeped hunting heritage in my blood, but my grandfather was a hunter through and through. Okay. Went from northern China to Germany to Russia to living in Mozambique from the 50s onwards.
Wow.
My father grew up in the Mozambique, the Africa of Africa. So at 16, he killed the Cape buffalo, did all those things. But I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa, so I didn't have access to hunting. Almost access to hunting in Mozambique was gone already because of the Civil War. And I grew up in a very urban society. It's like growing up in the middle of Los Angeles, right? Your friend circle didn't hunt.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about hunting. We didn't talk about hunting. I knew about it because of my grandfather and his stories. But that was it. The only way I got into hunting is when I came to the States to do a Ph.D. and met a 6'5", 260-pound redneck, and he said, "You want to go hunting?" And I was like, "Okay, sounds good." And that's how it started.
So what actually inspired Blood Origins?
I think I just was, I was at a point in my life that I was just sort of looking for things. I'm a creative kind of guy, and I was looking at my boys and raising them. They were 5 and 3 at the time, and I was looking to raise them in this hunting lifestyle that America affords you. And it was pretty incredible. It was incredible to dive into this sort of world that was, okay, well, how do I tell my boys how they need to hunt? Because I don't know how we need to hunt or why we're hunting. Like, I didn't know all those things. I was just as new as they were, essentially. And so I had to learn it myself. And so I was like, well, why don't I create something in which I can learn it from other people and I can hear from them, their hearts about why they decided to hunt. And that's what we started as. We started at this organization that just spoke about or communicated other people's stories. And we still do that today. We've done 80 of them.
Wow.
But it just started morphing from there, and it really became, somebody challenged me and they said, well, why are you not speaking more out about like hunting issues around the world? And I said, well, that's a fair point. And so we started talking about hunting issues, and then we started getting in front of things, and we started being able to, I'm not afraid to communicate. I'm not afraid to tackle hard subjects. And as you know, I am here. Somebody along the way either shared content with you or you saw something from us and you're like, man, this guy thinks a little differently or speaks a little differently or has a different accent than I'm used to. And, now we're on a rocket ship that we're just, trying to hold on to.
Yeah, you're really on a roll here, and you're spreading a lot of great information, a lot of awareness. So I guess that really wasn't always the mission of the project. It just kind of morphed into it.
Well, the mission of the project definitely morphed, but also the business model, because for the first 3.5 years of Blood Origins, my brain was like, look, I want an authentic brand. I want a brand that's full of integrity. But I was a for-profit entity. Uh-huh. But I would ask people for money in a from a non-profit perspective, even though it wasn't a non-profit. And so I'd ask, a camo company, hey, would you support us with some money? And they're like, well, we'll give you some gear and your guests are going to be dressed in our gear, right? And I was like, no. They're going to wear what they want. And you're going to be dressed in our gear. And I was like, Maybe, if I like it. But no, you should still support us because of what we're doing for hunting, changing this narrative. And everyone in the first 3.5 years told me no. Surprise, surprise, right? Based on what I just said to you.
Yeah.
I was asking them for something without getting much in return from them. They weren't going to get much in return from me, except championing hunting, which I thought was enough. Well, then a friend of mine said, again, start being more advocacy, more education, and because of that, you can become a 501c3, change your business model, become a charity, become a nonprofit.
Uh-huh.
And so we did that. And again, we didn't know what we were doing at the time when we got approved, nor do we, we have a better inkling of what we're doing now, but we still don't have everything solved. And the first day that I announced that we were a nonprofit, and this is July of 2020, the height of COVID.
Yep.
50 people gave me money. I was like, holy shit, this is going to work. This is going to work. And that was it.
So moving forward, you become an advocate, you're educating people. What do you find is the most misunderstood aspect about hunting?
Oh man, what is the most misunderstood aspect?
And there's a lot of them, we know.
Well, I think the toughest, and maybe I'll change your question around a little bit and say, I think the toughest thing to communicate to someone who doesn't hunt is them seeing us as hunters killing things and enjoying it.
Correct.
And it's fun, right? This idea of killing something is fun. And the way that I describe it to people, I said, it is fun. We go and hunt because it's fun. The adventure, the people, the landscapes, the communities, the interactions, everything about it is fun. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. The actual 100th of a second of when it comes to killing something, in the moment, it is wrapped up in this idea of fun. But it's at the end of the day, when we're hunting is an endeavor. It's not like a be-all and end-all like killing is. There's a difference between why we call ourselves hunters and not killers. There's a difference between why we go hunting versus killing, in that there's failure involved in it, and there's also when you kill in the hunt, it's the end of the hunt. And that's often sad part of it, because you're like, something I've been working for 2 years for is now over. It's finished. Anticlimactic, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Not anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's, you know what I'm saying? It's the end, and you're like, it's over. And so there is a little bit of sadness in it. There's a little bit of sadness, and I think there's always a little bit of remorse to the animal. I think that as human beings, we're empathetic, as in our character, and some of us feel more empathy for the animal in the kill sort of time than others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's one way better or worse. Is somebody hooping and hollering in the moment better than somebody who's remorseful in the moment? I don't think so. I think people deliver their reactions and the emotions differently. And the hooping and hollering, again, is misunderstood. It's not hooping and hollering because you enjoyed killing the animal. And here's where sort of semantics means a lot. You're hooping and hollering because of the 2 years that it took for you to get to that point. And because we're hunting, not hiking, the final stroke of the hunt is killing something.
There's the adventure, there's the work that goes into it, the struggle, and then the end.
Yeah, so to me, that's the hardest part to communicate about hunting. I think every other narrative, we have a lot of information on our side. From a meat consumption perspective, on a wildlife benefit perspective, on a people benefit perspective, on a community benefit perspective, on an economic benefit perspective. So I think that we've got all of those arguments, and we just have to, our job in Blood Origins is to give people that information, whether it's through me or through an infographic or through whatever it is, to be able to then have the confidence. So, Chris, you have the confidence now at a dinner table when somebody, goes, "Oh, I can't believe people kill elephants because they're endangered."
Well, that's not true.
Well, I want you to have the confidence at that dinner table to say, "Oh, Robbie, I remember Robbie talking about this. He did a little 5-minute piece on this and that. Yes, technically they are endangered. They're on CITES. Actually not. Technically through IUCN they're classed as vulnerable. They're still Appendix 2 animals. Or Appendix 1. I get confused all the time. It doesn't matter. But when you look at their population sizes by country, they're not endangered. You can't give an elephant away for free in South Africa. Too many elephants in Zimbabwe. Too many elephants in Botswana. Probably too many elephants right now in Namibia. Tanzania probably has too many elephants. Who can take elephants? Angola can take elephants. Mozambique can take elephants. Zaire, Congo, Malawi, all those places can take elephants. But do they want to take elephants? That's another question. The Mozambique government will probably not take any elephants today because of the potential of human-wildlife conflict backlash.
Yeah, in some aspects, they could be considered a nuisance, destroying farmlands. You're a farmer, you spend your life trying to produce crops, and an elephant can wipe it out in a night.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, when you're hunting an elephant, everybody knows about it. When there's a confirmed kill, people come and they butcher it on the spot. There's nothing but a blood spot left at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, 100%. So I think we've got it's the opinion-based sort of arguments that were it's always going to be tenuous in terms of how you describe hunting to someone who, one, doesn't understand it, and probably harder yet, someone who's completely anti it from a ethos philosophy perspective. So a vegan who's a true vegan is never going to say yes to hunting.
True.
Regardless of what you present to them. If they're open-minded, they're like, I get it. I see the benefit. Yes, I agree with you that there is benefits to conservation. I still don't like it. Cool. I'm good with that. That's where I want you.
That's fine. Hey, there's a difference between going to the store and buying a steak and actually going out and harvesting it yourself for consumption.
Yeah. And look, and people, here's the other, something I always typically do is, when it comes to wild game meat, often is as precious as like the best Wagyu in terms of if you had to put a price to that that deer's backstrap or that elk's backstrap, whatnot. That price is probably way higher than Wagyu beef, okay? But we're willing to share that meat very willingly with people. We're willing to give it to our friends. We're willing to give it to our families. And the reason being is it's all tied to, again, the endeavor of hunting and adventure and wanting people to be a part of this thing with you. I've never heard people go to the grocery store where you can get your meat today, buy 12 ribeyes, and come home and start texting friends saying, hey, I got some ribeyes. Would you like to come get one for free?
Yeah, no. That's not happening.
It never happens. Never happens. So, there's the intrinsic difference,
Well, what do you see as the biggest challenge in bridging the gap between hunters and non-hunters? Is it education or is it knowledge?
I think with education comes knowledge.
Sure.
I think we need to. I think it's a symptom of society writ large in that I think people aren't open-minded anymore around what they believe in. To either have your mind changed or accept somebody else's opinion and go, okay, yes, but I still don't like the activity, even though I can see the benefits of it. So I think the more people that interact in the digital media space, social media space, that are more centralists that understand and can be open-minded to both sides of the equation. I think that's what we need more of. And I think I see it every day. I see more and more people being like that, speaking more respectfully, speaking more gentlemanly, because all that's doing is educating someone, giving someone power and knowledge about, wow, I never thought a hunter could speak like that. I never thought a hunter could interact like that. I never thought that there would be a dialogue like that from hunters. Those kinds of things, I think, are the way forward. I think we need to, share the truth of what we do a lot more. I think that people forget, like somebody will go to Africa, they'll take pictures, 110 pictures of the animals they've killed. But they'll take one picture of like the skinner. I said, why don't we have pictures of all the staff that you essentially just employed? Or why don't you go down to the local school and donate your meat and take a video of you cooking meat for their lunch that day? Mm-hmm. And why is that content not as sexy? Well, I know the answer to this question. It's a rhetorical question. Why is that content not as sexy as you posting about the animals you killed? Well, because just like a hunter's tribe, just like cave paintings, you want to show people the animals, right? You want to show people what happened. And your tribe is hunters. And so you want to show those hunters that. You just got to remember in today's day and age, back in the day when you were sending photographs via mail, the audience was the people who received the photograph, which is typically your buddy who's a hunter.
Yeah.
But today, an audience that doesn't understand hunting can easily get a hold of your imagery and use it against us. And so I think people just need to. I'll say this. I'll end your question like this. If I had to do one thing that will save hunting, I know you didn't ask me about what's saving hunting. You just asked, like, what's our biggest problem? I said, I think it's answered the same way, is if I can get hunters to think more, just think more in either one step of the process when it comes to hunting or all the steps of the process, I think the outcome in social media and the perception around hunting and hunters will be so much better. You're thinking about what you're posting. You're thinking about the picture. You're thinking about the animal. You're thinking about how I'm being perceived by people who don't understand hunting. You're thinking about what you say. You're going to think about how you react to someone who does call you out, does call you a killer, does call you all the names under the sun. Those kinds of things.
Well, I found, especially on social media, when you get a non-hunter commenting on a photo, or it's better to take a step back, see the comment, think about how you're going to respond. Are you going to respond out of anger, or are you going to respond out of education?
Yeah, 100%.
Now, your platform is basically storytelling.
Yep, that's it. That's all we are.
How do you decide on what you want to feature?
We actually have a problem right now.
Stories out there.
Yeah, we have a problem right now that we've actually got too much content.
Yep.
And I was talking to my people this morning. They're like, "What do you want to do with this?" And I was like, "Oh, we got to push that." And like, "Yep." And I don't know. I think in the beginning, Chris, we were very much like we took whatever we were given. Mm-hmm. We did what we could with it. Now we can be a little bit more selective in what we do and how we do it. We can ask people for more information, and a lot of times we do that. Somebody comes with a great idea, or one that's like, I don't quite get that one. And all we'll do is we'll just push back a little bit and say, hey, can you give me some more information on that? I need to know a bit more about that, or this or that. And either if they're serious about it, they'll come back and we'll get to the point where I was like, it sounds great, but it's just not for us. Or they'll just disappear. I'm also not very much, we have a lot of people that will reach out to us and say, hey, do a story on us, on me. And immediately I'll say no.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing right then is being selfish versus selfless. I would prefer that person come to me and go, hey, I want you to tell Chris's story. Chris is amazing, and tell me about Chris. And I was like, oh, Oh, now I'm interested. I'm interested immediately
Uh,
because somebody's taking their time out of their day to talk about someone else that does great things. So they must be pretty good if somebody else has decided to like talk about them.
You've made an impact.
Exactly.
You've made an impression on somebody.
Yeah.
Is there a story that has really hit you, that's really impacted the way you think?
I think it's there's not one specific story that like swayed my opinion one way or another. I think it's the collective, over time that has really just allowed me to be a little bit more empathetic, has allowed me to think more deeply, because we've talked to people from, France to Argentina, from New Zealand to Zambia, from, Mississippi to Idaho. And everyone has a different story. Everyone has their own whys and they have their own pieces, and some are super serious and some cry and some are funny, and, some have really heartbreaking stories that you're just like, how did you get through that? And then you start also digging into the truth behind things. Like, we talked a little bit in the beginning about elephant hunting, and when you're behind the camera of somebody telling you that their dad just died because he got trampled by an elephant in the middle of nowhere in Botswana, she's sitting outside a mud hut with a kid screaming in her lap, and there's 6 kids running around. You're like, well, what's going to happen now? Like, that was the breadwinner. The breadwinner's dead.
Yeah.
Those it's sobering kind of stories, and I think it's just, I constantly think, how do I get that? I want a Chris Avina to be in a place when he sees what we do. I want you to get as close to me as I possibly can be in that moment. And that's what we constantly are trying to strive for.
Well, I think throughout the world, the stories are the same but different. It's easy for somebody here in the U.S. to sit and look at something in Africa and pass judgment.
Mm-hmm.
The lifestyle and the traditions there are completely different than they are here. It doesn't mean theirs is better or ours is better. It's just the culture.
Yeah.
And I think people pass judgment on that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, they certainly do. They certainly pass judgment, and often that judgment is because they're, as we're going back to this question, because they're uneducated or they're unaware.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that's what we do every single day, is educate and make people aware.
Well, we don't have to worry about going down to the river to get water and worry about getting, attacked by a crocodile or a hippo.
Right. Right. Absolutely right.
I think that's, a major cultural difference right there, that people just, you turn on the faucet, you get your water. It's not like that everywhere.
Yep, 100%.
So what's next for you? You're going to Africa in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, going to Africa. We've got a big education story tied to the Amy Bell charities in Craddock. We're going to interview the original education student that got the original funding from Amy Bell. He was a university student at the time, and we're going to call the piece "In My Footsteps" because his name's Bongani, and if Bongani had failed, the whole program probably would have failed. But Bongani is a very successful architect today in a very esteemed architectural firm in Port Elizabeth. And so we're essentially going to follow his footsteps into work, him at work, and then we're going to take him back to the shack that he grew up in and make him walk the road that he used to walk to school and stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, it's going to be a powerful piece. And then we're going to do, once we finish that piece, that'll be 7 days, 8 days, and then we'll move on and start a rhino documentary. The beginnings of a rhino documentary tied to rhino horn trade and all of the issues around rhinos.
That's a big topic.
Huge. And we want to get ahead of it. We think that there's a lot of conversations coming around rhino trade in 2027, 2028. So we want to get ahead of it with some content tied to that. So that's why we're starting that now.
I actually darted a rhino in Craddock.
Oh, who'd you do that with? The Tams?
I did.
Well done. Well
I,
done. Yeah, we're going to be staying with the Tams in a week.
they're great people.
Great people. Great people.
And I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they had that big seizure of ivory and rhino tusks, things of that nature.
Rhino horn, yeah.
And they lit it on fire. They burned them.
Oh, you're talking about Kenya, right? You're talking about Kenya. That was back in the late 70s. It was a long time ago. But that was a Kenyan statement to...
Oh, all right.
A Kenyan statement of the government, the president at the time being pushed by Richard Leakey, who was his department minister, saying this is a statement that we need to do. And it's funny when there's a book called At the Hand of Man. I can't remember the author's name at this point, Arthur Gorham or something like that. But he talks about that whole time frame with the burning of the tusks. It was the birth, essentially, of WWF, as well as the African Wildlife Foundation, and WCS, World Conservation Society. All three of those organizations were born in that time frame when everyone was advocating, all the conservationists, all the scientists was like, do not advocate for a rhino and elephant ivory ban. Do not. It's not going to be good for the species. And the pressures just mounted all across the world, publicly and socially, through these new NGOs that were pretty much like, if we need to save rhinos, we need to ban the trade of rhino horn. And so it got banned. And it's literally been banned for 50 years now. And I think it'll be the 50th anniversary of rhino trade in 2027, as I understand it. I'll have to double check my dates. And are we doing better today from a rhino protection perspective or rhino numbers than we did in 1977? And the answer is an absolute no.
Yep. It's still in demand.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be in demand. It's the most renewable, it's the most expensive renewable resource in the world. And there's lots and lots and lots of rhino horn in storage right now that could flood the market, could be used for the market in a legal mechanism for the next 10 years, next decade.
See, that's the way I look at it. If you put it out on the market, flood the market, the demand is going to diminish.
Should, yep.
The price that these poachers are getting for it is going to be reduced, and that'll bring the numbers of rhino back up.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Makes sense to me, but who am I? But all right, so where can we find you, Blood Origins, and where can we follow you on your trail?
Yeah, I often answer that question by saying, where can you not find us? Just type in Blood Origins into anything. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, Google. You're not hard to find. We are not hard to find. And if you want to get a hold of us, if you want to interact with us, if you want to, send us your thoughts, send us some ideas, if you've got story ideas, if you've got people that we need to talk to, you can DM us. You can email us at info@bloodorigins.com. You can obviously Facebook message us. Any which way you can get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us.
All right. Well, I know you got some big stories coming up over the next few weeks, and definitely check it out. Subscribe to our podcast, and we look forward to what's coming next for you. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us.
Appreciate you a lot, my man. Thank you.
All right.